Hello everybody. As I showed you folks, I mentioned something on the July 17th hit that I was going to install a Cisco UC540 routing phone system, router, whatever the hell you want to call it. I acquired this in 2024, the beginning of that year. It's extremely antiquated. Shh, don't tell anybody. Yeah, it might be exposed to the internet, but it's through a firewall. Shh, don't tell anybody. Shh. It's the same version of Cisco CME as the one I have right now. I don't know if the iOS, the version of iOS, is better or greater than the one that's in the 2001. I really can't remember. And with that being said, this is how it's set up. Cisco Configuration Assistant is not the same as the Cisco Network Assistant, as you see on screen right now. I'm minimizing it. It's similar setup. It is kind of a hybrid. It uses the Cisco IOS code. It also supports some of the smaller end products and stuff like that. This is the topology view, so any devices that is broadcasting via CDP comes up on here. But what's really interesting is when you set the network configuration in the IP addresses, you have your virtual LANs. Typically it's going to be 2, but what happens is if you plug the fast Ethernet switch, do I have the front view here to let me see if I have the front view in front of me. No, that's not it. Hold on, give me a moment here. Front panel, right, here we go. So, this is one of the dirty little secrets with the Cisco environment. What I did was to just make sure all the gigabit phones just have the fast with the fast and the gigs with the gigs. I kind of have this weird obsession. What I did was I plugged the fast Ethernet LAN port 1/8, and what that means is if you have a Cisco Catalyst Express 520, of which I had, which now I know how it works now because it's supposed to go with this router. What happens is if you plug any device, a Cisco switch on the expansion port, which is basically just, it's a trunked LAN, right? What it does is if CDP is mutually enabled, it's going to overwrite any of the virtual LANs on the secondary switch or the switch you're plugging in. So my Cisco 2960 actually stopped kind of working because it's had a spazzing tree situation because it started to erase some of the VLANs. I'm like, how did that go? So what I did to prevent this, I couldn't like revert configuration. I had to literally create the interface VLAN number because it totally erased it. I couldn't even revert configuration logs. It just did its magic, and the Cisco Discovery Protocol makes that happen. So what I did was, if I remember correctly, I turned off CDP on the routing end. Well, at least the switch didn't get effed up, but what happened was on the router side, because I plugged it, I believe, on port, I can't remember, probably 29, 27, I believe is the port. So I left the CDP on there so the Cisco phones could kind of phone home hardware-wise to the 540. So I turned off the CDP on there thinking that would be the culprit. Well, then what I learned the hard way was it started putting the VLANs from the 2960 over to the 540. I don't recommend you having all these VLANs in this little device, because it won't take it. It does handle more users, more phone calls and all that, but it's just too much if you have too many going on at once. So just an FYI, do read the Cisco white pages. You might have to do it on Google just to see what kind of capacity, because the 2801, of which I have, it was it handles like up to 12 users concurrently before things start breaking down, and especially with SIP, SIP and Cisco routers don't get along. The phone quality will drop very quickly. Again, if you're using third-party SIP phones, including the 6800, which is technically not officially supported on the Cisco router, so therefore even it's got a Cisco brand name on it, it's kind of considered to be third party. But that's what I was doing here. The software package for the CCA, you can do this in the prompt level. Let me log into that just to show you it's no different than any of the other Cisco but it's not recommended, and I read somewhere that it was no longer supported in one of the later versions, but this is kind of the latest version that I'm aware of, because Cisco stopped supporting this in 2017. Oops, I have it on default password right now. I will be changing it. So this is the iOS firmware. The iOS is dated, or was compiled on September 4th of 2012. This is a pretty later version that you could get in the UC series. Cisco marketed this from, I think, 2008 to 2015, and then it was end of life in 2017. But this is, let me explain to you with the graphical user interface. As you folks know me well enough, I'm a very much a GUI person in terms of visually seeing nuances, because apparently my Cisco on the 2801, it was very under configured. And this is because when Cisco doesn't really document things really well. I can walk you through some of the added features. One of the biggest features is the Cisco Unity connection. Right now we have two analog phone lines. One was for my late grandmother, and then the other one was the house number. Her number is going in straight to a voicemail. I put her name on the greeting just in case if anyone was still calling for her, which is probably not. As I get to that momentarily, let me find where my voicemail is. It's under, no, here. A lot of this stuff is done automatically through the, it does like a Telnet session. By the way, the CCA, in case I forgot to tell you, I found it, I did a deep search on and found it from a Russian host, and then of course I tested it on and on production machine to make sure there's no bad code. It looks like it was just straight up an image, whatever the MSI, that's what it is, because I'm using it on top of Windows. So I have the image. I actually have the soft phone that's compatible for the iOS devices. There is a function, but this is completely incompatible with modern iOS. I think there's a cutoff on it. So if you have the image and you have your iOS supported device, you can't even download it from the App Store anymore, unfortunately. You see my email by accident on that is not getting out on the internet, so I gotta go play around with it. if you dial 3 and then 3-digit extension, that goes direct to voicemail. That's the subscribers, but half of these are, I had to play around with this. So I actually did a factory reset multiple times. One with, when I first got it, I actually saved the entire config. I did the show ver or something like that command when I got it, just to have everything in case I wasn't able to. And then I was just CLIing through it and not making many changes. But when I saw the image, the MSI for the CCA, I then just reset it twice in May. Something got screwed up, so I did it again. And so I've been working on this version since May. My bedroom phone, my office phone have been on the new, couldn't even be able to call out. It's still very finicky. This is the FXO, FXS ports. So that right now, it's set up a little bit convolutedly. 0 is the target one for the main host number. Number 1's my Graham's number. 2 is the one that's connecting to the 2001. So she hits 204 or 200. It forwards to extension analog 222 on an FXS port on the 21, and it's coming in through FXO2 as if it was an outside call. I couldn't do it with SIP because that would be a more logical thing, just have it over the network, but just easier to put a 2-wire between the FXS to the FXO, because it'll be like calling another exchange. And that's exactly what it was doing. Port 0, I'm not sure if the status, if it's wonky, so I'm using port 3 for the main number. Still trying to test inbound calls are working, but whenever I hit 8 and the number, it's not working properly, so I may have to just play around with this a little bit more. It's a lot of work to do the cutover. The cutover was supposed to be 4th of July. I think I even had a Memorial Day cut that got pushed to 4th of July because 4th of July fell on a Friday, and then I just pushed it over. I'm very tired. I have a high fatigue of late, so I didn't want to, and also 24/7, my mother's been home for a few months now, as you folks already know. So you don't want to I have not been able to tamper with the phone lines since before COVID. So that's been very difficult to try to find downtime to do this test without. I actually test the phones in one room, so the production is not getting test calls unless it's I announce it. So it's a lot of work. Call parking is now a thing because I am using third-party SIP phones and analog phones. This was a very difficult. I don't know why it's reading it. I'm finally been able to get that to work. The conferencing is really cool. Really cool feature. I tried doing it with the 21, but I must have been missing some configuration. So I just put 3 numbers. There's like a lever control based on context, based on the DSP chip. That's the PVDMs. So not really important. I just did it for hits and gigs. The music on hold is really cool. So if you see from the front view where my cursor is, the little 3.5 jack, that plays the music on hold. I have a very old SanDisk Sansa that I used to play music on hold. In fact, I wanted to put the weekly zoo and stream content 24/7 on one of my virtual machines, and then had the it being running off on hold. So how this works is I want to emphasize on this. Even though you have a music on hold, in fact, it's actually a music on hold interface to be exact when you look at the running config. Its intention is for music on hold. You also have an option in this version of the UC UC540 to put music on hold for internal calls. This was like a hit or miss depending on what version of CME you were using and which router the CME was running off on. Now you have like explicit option. External music for music on hold. If it doesn't detect any noise, it will use the built-in music on hold. But if there is noise, it'll go onto that. I learned that the hard way with my old Stanza. Its own female jack is getting it's getting worn out, so you have to wiggle the plug a little bit. So that's the basics on that. So like I said, the call parking, the pickup, the paging I have not done. I know that again the Cisco ones use multicast routing, and a lot of this has been changed as everything's moved over to SIP on the Cisco side, and they finally are figuring this out. But the only way you could page Cisco phones in a Cisco environment was through Call Manager Express. The phones that are supported, the SPA series, which was a Linksys product, I think, or it was like right before Cisco bought Linksys. It was the consumer line, because this is really a prosumer grade system. The SPA series does support, is supported natively. And if you do have like a Cisco 2800, 2900, 1700, they could theoretically work, but under third-party SIP, and you would have to manually program it. But it does it naturally, natively. And also you can go on, when you can do the telephony service web page, you can actually administer the SPA phones. You can't administer SIP phones over the web, the IP address / telephony _ service.html. So that's a little interesting thing. It does have an integrated wireless. I use it as a break glass wireless. It's 54 megabits a second. I have some dead spots. Like I said, this is against a firewall, so there's 2 levels of firewalls. It's got its own built-in firewall, which I think is disabled currently because I'm tweaking over the network. Oh wait, it is actually protected. So I'm working on that. And the SSLs, I mean the ACLs, excuse me, can get really confusing very easily. So I've never really done that really well. Kind of half-witted in that regard. The one last thing that I have not gotten into, but the 2 0 ports on FXO and FXX and FXO, I believe is used for power failure. I've not seen the documentation to support that, but that's my deep assumption, that why would the zeros on both sides be blacked out? I've not been able to test that. I would like to do that in case the router does develop a problem, which can happen more times than you would want to believe, or the router gets overwhelmed and where the skinny or the SIP phones won't work. The call parking, just an overview. The call parking does work across all 3 protocols if you consider analog telephony as such. So SIP, skinny, and I'm using third-party SIP to be exact, and analog. The feature access codes work the way they should. Again, it's probably the configuration on the system. One other thing too that I'm going to show you quickly is the support on the Cisco phones. If I can get to that briefly, it's got to fetch for this information. I'm going to go to okay. So there is an option in this version of the Cisco Call Manager where you can monitor a CO line, and it can work like a CO line. I'm not going to select these buttons, but what it will do is it will, if the phone's ringing, you can pick it up. If the line's idle, you can press the line button and it goes out. The Cisco documentation for CME, the best practice was that you put a dummy extension, and then you do your dial pairs and connection PLAR OPX on your voice port to that's what it says in the documentation. But ironically, in here it actually has a function, which I thought was rather interesting. The other thing too is that when you look in the running config, the port, the number actually has letters. It's kind of weird. It's got like a 3AB1 string when you look at the voice port. It's rather interesting, something I'm not seeing in the Cisco documentation, but it works on this little guy as well. The same works pretty well. The fan isn't not as loud as I imagined when you have the load light. This is licensed to have 40 users. Again, the listing said 520, so it's the second digit in the monoline is typically the amount of users. Most of the Cisco series will have like 16. Now, just because it can take 40 registered users, I would be careful not doing it all simultaneously. Your mileage might vary. So that is basically it. Like I said, I have to go play around with the settings here to get all this to work properly. Right now everything's set to either dummy or, oh, that's weird, my destination is going to, oh, that's why when my mother was trying to call me, it was ringing to, okay, that should work. I should test that. But at some point the 2801 will act as a backup in case something goes wrong with the 540. This is mine, so if I were ever to move out, this system is going with me. So just an FYI. Not that I'd be moving out anytime soon, but anyhow. So that's basically it for this little quick video. Until next time, see you in another video. And like I said, I was just doing this in a live stream, and I was talking about the UC540, and I'm like, I should do a follow-up video on this on its own. So that's what it is. Thank you for watching. Bye.